Hello dear candidates, welcome back to our lessons. This one is a very interesting biology lesson where we shall discuss about nitrogen cycle. This is a topic you will learn in Form 3, that is ecology, and of course it is important you learn it because it is examinable, and you'll be asked to do a few processes in this cycle and probably be in a position of explaining how nitrogen in the atmosphere becomes important to plants and animals. Have somewhere to write, and please make sure you follow me in this short video. If you look at our flow chart, we have nitrogen in the atmosphere here. This is nitrogen in the atmosphere. You can see how the arrows have been represented. This arrow, nitrogen from the air, goes all the way to nitrates. The process is E. There is also nitrogen from the air again to these nitrates again. We have another process F. Then we have animals here. We have a process we call H to ammonia. We have something here G, probably an organism. And there's an arrow that points to animals. Then G again to ammonia. Seems like this is H and this is H. That means that is the same process. Then we have nitrates to G. We call it Q in this flow chart. And then we have nitrites. Nitrites to nitrates. That is J. Let us see the kind of questions you expect in these flow charts. Oh, there is one more before we go to the questions. Nitrates to nitrogen in the atmosphere. That is how the arrow goes, and we are calling it C. Without forgetting, ammonia can be represented by NH3, nitrites NO2, and of course nitrates NO3. So that is briefly what we can talk about that flowchart. We go to the questions and see what the questions have for us. Name the organisms that cause process E and J. Name the organisms that cause process E and J. So we go back to the flow chart. We have process E here. We also have process J here. So we want to check the answers for this question. That is to say, for example, E, if you can look at CE, that is conversion of nitrogen in the atmosphere directly into nitrates. That one is done by free living microorganisms. And we can talk about bacteria, and we shall give correct or examples of the bacteria that do this work. Free living microorganisms, where we'll talk about bacteria, and we have 3 examples of bacteria that do that work. That is, I want to give you a formula, CAR or CAR. The first one is C, stands for Clostridium. Clostridium. A stands for Azotobacter. And R stands for Rhizobium bacteria. So these are bacteria that are responsible in conversion of nitrogen from the atmosphere all the way to forming nitrates or nutrients in the soil. Another category of organisms is algae. Algae, we can also give examples of algae. We have chlorella. We also have anabaena. And finally we have nostoc. So the easiest way you can also remember the algae that work in conversion of nitrogen in the atmosphere to nutrients or nitrates, we can say can. That is a formula to understand. Remember bacteria, we said Ca, that is Clostridium, Azotobacter, and Rhizobium. Second question. The second question. Name the processes represented by F and H. Our charts. F, here it is. F is a conversion of nitrogen in the air, actually physically, to forming nitrates. This one is by lightning. It is not a biological process. That one is by lightning. 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 This is a physical process where nitrogen in the air during thunderstorm and lightning, nitrogen in the atmosphere is converted into nitrates, that is directly. But for E, we talked about free living microorganisms, whereby we've talked about bacteria and of course algae. What about H? H is here. The process where ammonia, animals form ammonia, and you see that process is the same here, G to ammonia, animals to ammonia. The process is called death and decomposition. Death, the process is death and decomposition. When animals die, they form ammonia. Don't forget, there is now conversion of ammonia to nitrites, which I'm not very sure is captured in our questions. Ammonia to nitrites, conversion of ammonia to nitrites is also another very important process. Let us finish the questions and see whether we'll be in a position of capturing it. Next question. Name the organisms responsible in the process C. Process C. C. This is now denitrification. Conversion of nitrates to nitrogen in the atmosphere. In that case, we shall have bacteria and fungi. Then we shall give an example of bacteria. So we have bacteria. And we have two bacteria that do that work. The first one is Theobacillus. Theobacillus. And the other one is Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas. These are what we call denitrifying bacteria. That is it. We also have some fungi that do the same work. Some fungi. So we have bacteria, and the examples of the nitrifying bacteria are two, Theobacillus and Pseudomonas, and of course we have fungi. So the process C is called denitrification. The process is called denitrification. Denitrification. Next question. Name organisms G, process T, and process Q. Back to the chart again. Organisms G. These are definitely plants. Reasons? Plants are eaten by animals, and then plants, just like animals, will decompose after death to produce ammonia in the process we call H. So this G is plants. G, we talk about plants. What about process T? The process by which animals eat plants, that process is feeding. That is kind of nutrition. Animals will feed on plants. So T is feeding. T is feeding. Then process Q. Now in the soil, nitrates in the soil now. What happens to nitrates in the soil? Nitrates in the soil are going to be taken to plants through the process we call absorption. So Q is absorption. Absorption. Yeah, so that is about the processes that we have there. After doing the questions that we had in that flowchart, I feel like I should add two things as I had promised you. The process where ammonia is oxidized to nitrites, there are organisms there. We have two bacteria that will be responsible for the conversion of ammonia to nitrites, and they are Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas. So Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus are two bacteria that are responsible in the conversion of ammonia to nitrites. Then what about J? Nitrites to nitrates. That is again another oxidation process. We only have one, and that is Nitrobacter. Nitrobacter. Check on the spellings. We have tried to go through this flowchart. I know you will watch this video several times, and if you are new here, please subscribe to Smart Learner Studio. My name is Kiongozi Momanyi. See you in the next video. Goodbye and good luck in your exams.